So this is how my cake turned out. Yikes. Hey everybody, it's Ashley Richardson back again to bake another pound cake. And if you are a past, present, or future student of mine, it's Miss Richardson. Stay tuned as we get into this pound cake. Under my umbrella here are very simple ingredients. I'm going ahead and lift that to make it a little bit easier to see. I am going to use 3 cups of Swan's Down baking flour, and I have 2 boxes out because one of them is almost empty, but 3 cups of Swan's Down cake flour, 3 cups of sugar, 3 sticks of unsalted butter, room temperature, a full block of cream cheese, room temperature, 5 large eggs, room temperature, and then I have my extracts and my flavorings. I'm using something called Cream Bouquet, which amps up the flavor of the cake, pure vanilla extract, a little lemon extract, butter extract, and then I'm gonna put just a pinch of my pineapple extract in the cake. I have found that the pineapple extract really kind of amps up that citrusy flavor. I have a function that I have to attend tomorrow for church, and it's a potluck event, and I didn't want to do anything too spicy or too over the top for a cake. And you know, just a plain pound cake always goes over well, and so I'm gonna have the vanilla, the butter, just a pinch of lemon, and just a smaller pinch of the pineapple extract in the cake. Not doing a glaze today. I'll probably dust the cake with powdered sugar to keep it simple, and that's gonna be our cake today, something very, very simple. So if you are interested in this recipe, and maybe if you are a first-time baker and you're not ready to add all that razzle dazzle to your cake, I think this might be the recipe for you. This is inside my mixing bowl with a full block of cream cheese and 3 sticks of salted butter. Let me make that correction. I don't know why I said unsalted earlier in the video because I use salted butter in all of my cakes. But a full block of cream cheese, 3 sticks of salted butter. I have a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of the Cream Bouquet, 4 teaspoons of the vanilla extract, 1 full teaspoon of the lemon extract, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of the pineapple extract. I am also using a whisk attachment to blend everything, and the reason why I put the extracts and the salt and all of that in there in the beginning is because I like for the flavors and the salt and everything to really mix throughout the cake, and I found that it's, you know, a little more flavorful when I do these things from the beginning as opposed to waiting until the batter is already mixed. And so let's get started with mixing this cake. I always like to let the fatty substances mix a little bit first, the butter and the cream cheese, to smooth it out just a little bit, and then I'm going to slowly add my 3 cups of sugar. And you can hear the sugar as it's mixing. You want to mix until you don't hear that sound and the batter is nice and whipped and light and fluffy. Or I guess not quite a batter yet, I guess, until you add the cake flour. But you want to mix the sugar and the cream cheese and the butter until it is whipped and light and fluffy. Now that all my sugar is in, I'm gonna turn it up on full speed, and it'll mix anywhere between 6 to 12 minutes, depending upon your mixer on what speed you put it on, but I'll show you what it's supposed to look like in the end. Okay, so the butter, the cream cheese, and the sugar has mixed a little bit, and I'm going to take some time now to scrape the side of my bowl. As you can see, it's already starting to look a little whipped. And it's always good to scrape down the side of your bowl to make sure that you get everything on the sides, everything from the bottom, because you want to make sure that everything is nice and incorporated and mixed in completely. And we're gonna let it mix for a little bit longer on high speed. The mixture is ready. It's nice and light and fluffy, and I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So this is what whipped and light and fluffy looks like. I mixed until I could not hear the sugar, and you can see the yellow that it was from the butter. It goes from yellow to pale yellow to a very, 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 it's like an eggshell color almost, but this is what your batter should look like. Now it's time to add our eggs one at a time. Again, these are 5 large eggs. They are already cracked. Never crack your eggs over the batter because you don't want a shell to pop in. You just never crack your eggs over the batter. So they are already cracked in a bowl, 5 large eggs, room temperature, and we're going to add them in one at a time. I always, like when I'm baking a cake by myself, they always go in one at a time. But when I'm on camera with you all, I always have a moment where 2 of those eggs want to get real pesky and slip in there 2 at a time, like they're going on Noah's Ark. So if that happens, it's totally okay. You want to make sure that your eggs are mixed until you can no longer see the yellow. You don't want to over mix. And so I would estimate mixing each egg anywhere from maybe about 10 seconds, if that much, but just long enough so that the yolk is well incorporated. And as soon as you see that yolk disappear, go ahead and add in the next egg. So let's add our eggs. What I tell you, 2 at a time. It happens every time I'm on camera. Every time. Every single time. Oh, sheesh. And just like that, I'm done mixing the eggs. I'm going to scrape the side of my bowl and to make sure that everything is mixing well. And then the last step of this process, believe it or not, is that we're gonna add in the 3 cups of the cake flour. And I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video, I preheated my oven to 315 degrees for my students, because I know my students watch my videos. We talked about prefixes this week, and one of the base words that we used was heat. And so if I'm preheating, that means that I heated my oven before putting my cake in the oven. You know, I just got to keep it educational for my baby. So I preheated my oven to 315 degrees, and we're going to add in these 3 cups of cake flour. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking powder to my mixture, and that's going to be it. So let's add in these 3 cups of flour now. Here is the baking powder that I use. Again, that's 1 teaspoon. And the great thing about Swan's Down cake flour is that it comes pre-sifted. You do not have to sift. But once you add in the baking powder, and I know some people like to add in their salt at this particular time, you might want to go ahead and sift your ingredients again. I have not found that to be necessary with the Swan's Down. I just put the teaspoon of baking powder in there, and I'm gonna dump it all in. So it saves you a lot of time. Well, it saves you a little bit of time buying the cake flour because it does come pre-sifted, and I'm all about convenience. And make sure that when you're adding in your flour, you do it slowly, and the mixer is low, because if you turn the mixer up high, number one, flour is going to go everywhere, and number two, you run the risk of over mixing your batter, and that is a no-no. So I'm just going to add in a little bit, about a cup. Gonna add in my second cup. And I have a 12-speed mixer, and just to let you know, I'm mixing this on 1. Now, when I was mixing the butter and the sugar and the cream cheese, I mixed it on 12. And I just want you to see the variation in speeds at which time you're supposed to use which speeds. All 3 cups of the cake flour are in. I'm gonna speed it up just a little bit, and then I'm gonna mix the rest by hand. This is speed 5. And I'm turning it off, and I'm going to mix the rest by hand because I do not want to overmix. Now look at that batter, it's so pretty. Nice and whipped and smooth, not over whipped. That's gonna come out so light and fluffy, and I've already tasted it. It tastes delicious. I have just a little hint of that pineapple. The pineapple extract really brings out that lemon, and it pairs very nicely. Now, here is my tube pan that I'm using. This is a 15-cup tube pan, I believe. I've sprayed it completely with baking spray. Make sure to get the sides, the bottom, and don't leave out the tube because we don't want any stickage. And I just use generic Food Lion brand baking spray. I know some people swear by Baker's Joy, brain fart. Some people swear by Baker's Joy. Maybe it's just me, but my cakes always stick with Baker's Joy. I'm not sure, but I use Food Lion baking spray. It works well for me every single time. It's cheaper, and Food Lion always has a coupon off, $1.15 off 2 cans. Yes, I'm gonna say this in every video until you all take advantage of that coupon of $1.15 off, because why not bake a cake and save money at the same time? So I'm getting ready to pour the batter into the pan. The cake will have to bake for an hour and a half because I am baking at 315 degrees Fahrenheit. I bake my cakes like I do meat, long and slow, because I want the inside of the cake to be completely cooked. I want it to be baked. I don't want any of that gooey inside. I want it to be nice and fluffy, but I don't want it to overcook on the outside. And something about this particular bundt pan in my oven, if I bake at 350 degrees, it never turns out right. And then I tried it at 325, and I realized that my sweet spot for my oven and my pan is 315 degrees. So you're gonna have to play around with the utensils that you're using to bake, the temperature of your oven, to see what works best for you. Got my knife here to get the excess batter. Now we're going to shake the pan here just a little bit to even it out. That's what it looks like on the inside. So whipped and nice. We're gonna get out the air bubbles, and it's ready for the oven. The cake is out of the oven and it has cooled. So I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Perfect bake. Nice rise. And let's flip this baby out, and we'll put some powdered sugar on here, and we can slice it. sad face. Well, this is a prime example. Not everything turns out perfectly in baking. Now, I'm going to tell you the cake is going to be delicious regardless. And fortunately, I plan on slicing the cake anyway and dusting it with powdered sugar, but that's what it looks like on the inside. It's still got a nice rise to it, but gosh, I haven't done this in a while. But you know what? It happens. Not all cakes turn out perfectly. So here we go. As you can see, my cake looks a little jacked up. I mean, it does. But in full transparency, like I said before, not every cake is going to turn out perfect. Like now, my last cake video, I mean, it dumped perfectly. But it's okay. We're still going to cut it and we're going to taste it. Now it's time for the moment of truth and to taste. Yep, I'm back to the styrofoam plate and the plastic fork. Old habits die hard. Man, that's moist. Notice how I'm not even chewing because it's so moist, it just melts in my mouth.
Hold on to me. I'm moist. I'm moist. Call and response, I said I'm moist. I'm moist.
And this back part here, this crust. The cake is very, very, very good. Really, if you can bake a plain pound cake and not have an icing, a glaze, a drizzle, and it's still moist and delicious, that is really the hallmark of a good cake. Though it didn't flip out perfectly, you know, I guess for video and aesthetic purposes, some people might consider that to be a fail, but the cake tastes really good. And I had planned on slicing the cake anyway. I plan on slicing the cake, and of course I had to taste it before I give it to anybody else, but I'm going to slice the cake. I'm going to dust it with powdered sugar. So all in all, the people who are going to receive the cake, well, unless they watch this video, they're never going to know that it didn't dump out perfectly, because they're going to get nice, perfectly sliced pieces of cake with dusted powdered sugar, and it's going to be amazing. Here is my cake that I have sliced. As you can see, all is not lost because I had planned on cutting it anyway. And all I did was just take confectioner's sugar. I sliced the cake and then I took confectioner's sugar and I just dusted the cake. Like I said, the cake is good by itself without the confectioner's sugar. And not everything is going to turn out perfectly in the kitchen, but for me, it's about the cake tasting good. And of course, you all saw me taste the cake on camera. It was absolutely amazing. And it's going to be even better with the powdered sugar on top. Well, we have come to the end of another video. Once again, my name is Ashley Richardson. And if you are a student, it's Miss Richardson to you. I look forward to joining you again in another video. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll see you again the next time. Bye.